Okay, so first thing we'll take off the side cover. So just 2 screws. So these 2 screws come out, and then this is the main cover at the side with all the wiring. Okay, so first thing we'll do, this one here, just gently pop that out. So that's off. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll take the top guide off. So there's 1 screw in each side here. Those 2 screws come out, this just comes out of the way. So just put that off the side. Okay. Alright, so in the fuser here, we'll have to take off these 2 springs. We'll also have to take off that side cover as well, so we'll just get that out of the way first. So the same thing like the other one, 2 screws. Don't do what I just did. That cover just comes off like this. Alright. Okay, so now we have to loosen these 2 main screws so we can take it apart. So we just back these all the way off. So that's all the way, that's loose. Same on this side. Like that. Okay, so when you take these off, just use your hand, bend the fuser together a little bit. That you can just leave them hang, they're not going to go anywhere. Same with this one, just put it up out of the way. Now with this here, we just take off, take that off like this. This just comes up and then away. So when you put this back in, on one side it's got a little cutaway and the other side's just got a hole, so that will just slide on there like this and then down, but I'll show you that. Okay, so now we have to gently take this apart. So on this side, 1 clip, like that, and pop this out. The trick to getting these out easily, so instead of using a screwdriver, just get your thumbnail, press in the middle where that crevice is, and then that will just pop out. So that side's loose. Now on this side, a little bit more tricky. So just undo that clamp. You might need to use a little screwdriver or needle nose pliers, something like this. Okay, so then we're just going to pop this harness out reasonably gently, otherwise we'll break the connectors. Okay, and this has just got a little C holder here at the side, so just put your finger in there and pop those wires out. That allows this to move. Now there's 1 screw here, so you can see that it's on the lower part of that little half moon looking thing. So we're just going to loosen this, don't take it out, just loosen it. So it's still not enough. Loosen it so you can spin this out of the way. Okay. So this side can stay in like this because we've taken off that one. So we only need to clean just the sensors here at the bottom. So sort of gently bend that, push it through like this. Okay. So what could happen if you see my fingers here, there's a white grease there. Sometimes that white grease can end up on these 2 sensors. All right, so this sensor here, don't touch that with anything because that's a thermostat, and if you touch it, it could be defective and it will never work again. Okay, so what usually happens is these 2 can get a little bit of dust, grease, things like that on there, so we're just going to clean those 2. So when you clean it, you know, just get some metho on a cloth and then gently wipe up like this, gently, and just make sure there's nothing there. So don't touch them with your bare fingers because if you leave the oil behind, it's going to be the same problem. Okay, and if there's any sort of dust or anything like that, just blow it off. Don't touch it with your hands, otherwise it'll be dead, or could be dead. Okay, so to reinstall the roller, make sure that none of this grease, any rubbish here, touches any of those sensors that we just cleaned. So when we put this back in, just make sure it's sort of parallel, I guess. So put that down, put your finger inside so this pops out. Don't use a lot of force on the harness there. Okay, so when you reinstall this, you see these little brackets here. So this brown looking thing is the bearing. So it's got to be sitting on the outside of the bearing like that. So it's the same both sides. Once it goes in like that, it can't move. All right, so with that in there like this, make sure this side is in first. So before we do anything else, we're just going to put this bracket back on. Otherwise it's gonna fall away and then we're gonna have troubles. Okay, so you can see I've put it on the last stop, so the second one. So we're just gonna do that up, not like that. So it doesn't need to be super tight, so that lamp won't move now, okay? And then reinstall, so on this side, these two only go one way. So it's clipped in like that. If your clip's broken, don't worry, just push them together and then slide them inside. Okay, so there's a little gap down here, so we're just gonna put that down in the gap and then close off that, that bracket. So it's sitting there, can't go anywhere. All right, so now for this side, we have to feed all this wires back in. So that wire, just sit them all in there. So these ones are the ones that are fragile, okay? Now we're gonna put those in first because we don't want them to come out. So we just sit them inside into a little brown holder. Same with this big black wire, just feed that in. So you just sort of tuck them all in the side like this. And then we've got this little harness inside that little C-clip. This clip's a little bit broken, so hopefully yours isn't. Okay, so that's all back together. All right, so before we put these springs on, we need to put this back in. So make sure all the little springs are seated correctly, because if you don't, you're gonna get paper jams. So this one's an old unit and it's got tons of stuff on it, but it's just for the video. So that hole there lines up with that dowel pin. So you push that in. Now this one, find the spot where it'll slot in. So see, that's slotted straight in. Put it all the way down. Now our spring. So when you install the spring, this is the open side. So we're gonna feed the open side in there. And then so this side, the cutaway's facing towards the machine's right. Okay, so that's one like that. So that should look like this. That means you've done it correctly. Okay, so then we reinstall the main tension springs. So pop them in like that. Okay, so they only really go on one way. All right, so that's in. So if we want to, we can just tension that up. So I suggest you don't use a drill, but these, you just turn them all the way until they stop. Stop. Okay, so that's it. So that's it, it's all tension. You don't have to worry about doing anything wrong. Okay, so now we have to put on this upper guide. So I'll just get the screw out of here that I left in there. So when you put this in, it'll only go in one way, but it has to be latched inside. So when we put it on like that, you'll notice it'll go down and that will sort of click into place. So see, I can't move that, it's clicked into place, and then just line the holes up and put the screws in. So we've got these two normal screws, okay, and these ones with the washers and the crush washer, that's for the covers. So don't use those ones, just use these normal flange screws. Of course it doesn't line up for me. Start with the other side. There's one in. Okay, so that's the main covering. So just check that it all looks okay. Everything moves. Okay, so that's all installed. Now this, just click it back in together. So and when you put the covers on this side, you'll see this little wiring harness, sort of put it in under there, and then this harness goes in that tiny little cutaway, okay? And then you can just put the cover on. Make sure there's no wires or connectors poking out because this cover won't go on. So with that sitting in there, just pop the cover on, and it should look like this. So it should look like the harness there sitting in that little cutaway. Put your other cover on, drop the screws, that's it, done.